Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the final look for Week 12. So let's get right into it. Posted a video yesterday, and then we got a lot more news that kind of shook up the slate. So give you guys a recap of the news we got yesterday, give you guys an updated look at the core, and let's get started. So as always, appreciate if you guys would hit the like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, you can join the team if you want with dfsprocess.net. It's been a good Week 12 so far with Monday Showdown and Thanksgiving Day. So keep it going on Sunday. I feel pretty good about where we're at. There's going to be a lot of chalk this week. It's just hopefully the chalk hits. And I feel pretty good about most of the chalk hitting, and at least the ones that I will be playing. So let's get started at quarterback. Just like yesterday, it's the same kind of guys. I'm not going to waste too much time at quarterback because I spent a lot of time doing that yesterday in the video. But for me, it's still going to be Josh Allen as my favorite. I do not think you can go wrong with Mahomes or Murray as the other two pay-up options. We got a lot of value yesterday, especially with Brian Hill as another 4K running back that we can plug in this week. So I will be paying up at quarterback. It's a lot easier to do that. So give me Josh Allen at 76 with the upside that he presents at home against the Chargers defense that has just been getting shredded every single week. They give up a ton of points every game. Every team seems to be able to compete with them, and they've let up some big comebacks too. So I think Josh Allen will be able to do whatever he wants on offense. And then in the $6,000 range, we have Cam Newton and Taysom Hill, two guys that give you rushing upside. I think Cam Newton looks a lot better with his matchup, and I feel more safe with him because we have a bigger sample. So I'd rather go Cam Newton over Taysom Hill, but both guys I think are in play in that mid 6K range. And then below $6,000, I think Tua is still questionable, so I think he's going to play, but that's a bit surprising that they haven't ruled him in yet. If he's out, then Fitzpatrick at 55 would be a really nice play at a super cheap price point that he can stack with Devontae Parker. We know those two have a great chemistry. If Derek Carr at 57, a lot of people are playing this week. I never feel comfortable and safe with playing Derek Carr, so I think I'd rather go with Josh Allen and go with a bit safer option at quarterback. And then you have Matt Ryan at 5,900. I think he looks strong. Not that many people are looking at him. He's been a boomer bust play, but against the Raiders, I think if everybody's playing Derek Carr, he's at home. Matt Ryan is. He easily can have a same game if not better game than Derek Carr, and coming in at lower ownership and losing Gurley, they're probably going to throw the ball more. So I think he looks really good. Moving on to running backs this week. So looks like Dalvin Cook is still, just like it was yesterday, the best option. It just depends if you want to play him and sacrifice paying up at wide receiver or paying up at quarterback. I think he looks really good. Without Thielen, he's still going to be even more involved. So there's definitely a really good spot for Cook. The only thing is that the Panthers defense looked pretty good last week. Obviously, they shut out the Lions, but that offense has been hit or miss all year. I take that back. They've actually been good all year, but Matthew Stafford's thumb has been bad in terms of putting up points. There was a stat on Thanksgiving that they scored 20 points in every single game except for that game where they got shut out. So maybe the Panthers did something different, but maybe it's just that Matthew Stafford just couldn't get anything going. And they were dealing with some injuries on that team. So I'd rather still stick with the fact that the Vikings at home are going to be able to put up some points this week. So still think Dalvin Cook looks really good. You can easily build a lineup without him and kind of fade some of that chalk if you want to and be a bit different. I think obviously he's one of my favorite pay-up option, but I think if you want to be different, we can go with Brian Hill, obviously as the first running back to plug in this week at $4,000. No Gurley against the Raiders are going to put up points. He can get you some passing down work as well. There was some Brian Hill chalk last year. Didn't really work out. You kind of remember some games where he got at least one game where he got a couple touchdowns taken by the other running backs when he was over 50% owned. Hopefully that doesn't happen this time. But 4K should be able to get you some passing down work. I mean, it will get you passing down work. He'll get you catches. He'll get you probably 10 to 15 carries at least. So he looks really good. Best point per dollar running back on the slate. And then you still have James Robinson at 63 against Cleveland. If you want to go that route, you have Nick Chubb at 71. You have a lot of running backs in this $5,000 range, like a Kareem Hunt at 56 that gets you all the passing down work. We have Myles Gaskin. They haven't ruled him in yet, but it looks like he probably will play because he's been practicing, and they already ruled out the running back that's been getting all of his work. Ahmed has ruled out, so I think they're probably going to rule Myles Gaskin in, and if he's in, then I feel really good about him getting a full workload because they haven't really given Matt Breida anything, and I don't think that will change. I don't think that will change this week against the Jets. He just hasn't been doing much for them. So I think Gaskin looks really good if you want to plug him in, assuming he gets activated. And then Gallman looks great as a third running back. So there's a path to go cheap at running back. 3 guys that can get you a really high score. And then pay up at receiver and pay up at quarterback. So that's just, I think, just to be a little bit different because everybody's probably going to have Hill and like Justin Jefferson, who I will definitely be playing at wide receiver and play a lot of the same builds. Like play Carr. If they play Cook, they're probably going to go cheap with Carr. They're probably going to play Jefferson. Everybody's going to play Jefferson. Everybody's probably going to play Calvin Ridley. Assuming Jones is out, everybody's going to play Brian Hill and like maybe Gallman or one of these other running backs. So I think if I'm be different, you can easily pay up at wide receiver. And Jefferson is the best option at receiver this week. And I think Diggs comes in as a close second. Jefferson is the best option because Thielen is out, and there's only been a 2-man show for them on the outside. It's been Jefferson and Thielen. No other receiver on that team has made an impact. They barely run any other 3 wide receiver sets. They run a lot more 2 tight end sets. They have a fullback in there. So Jefferson is going to be the guy. Now, could easily be some other wide receiver that comes in and plays because they're going to need another receiver that plays as many snaps as Thielen does, and he played all the snaps. So it's probably going to be Johnson at 3,000 or Chad Beebe, but neither one is that. Another one I'm confident in is going to get a lot of like reps and get a lot of catches. Probably will be BB just because he has been the third wide receiver. But I'd rather go with Jefferson at 63, guy that I know is going to be out on the field the entire game, is going to get a ton of targets from Kirk Cousins. And Diggs is just a great option to pair with Josh Allen. No John Brown again, and ever since John Brown's been out, we've seen Stephon Diggs' targets just go through the roof. He has 10, 12, 9, and 11 targets in the 4 games span, and in those spans he has gone over 100 yards just once, but he's gone over 93 times. So he's getting some big plays. He's getting targeted early and often, and it's against a very poor Chargers defense. So Diggs with Allen looks wrong this week, and I like Jefferson like a lot of people. And then if we don't get word that Gaskin is in, then I might just take him out just because we're not 100% sure yet. And then the third piece that I really like at wide receiver, we have, well, I think everybody's probably going to go with Calvin Ridley. If you want, you can do that, but you're not going to be able to pay up at tight end. So he definitely will look strong this week, assuming Jones is out. I think you could play him over Diggs if Jones is indeed out. That will just be something to keep an eye on. Maybe we'll get word about Julio Jones. We'll definitely get word before 11 o'clock tomorrow or on Sunday. So I definitely like Calvin Ridley, but I still would like to pay up at tight end. But for me, the wide receivers that I'm considering this week are going to be Tyreek Hill, Diggs, Jefferson, Ridley. And then I think you can kind of avoid some of these guys just because we got more value. We have, I still would consider, if you're making a bunch of lineups, play like a Chris Godwin, Devontae Parker. Those guys are just in really, really good spots. I love Robert Woods at just 5,800. Just gives you a ton of upside at a really cheap price point. And then the Jaguars are dealing with injuries. They ruled out DJ Chark and Chris Conley for Sunday, so that is going to open up the door for a like Keelan Cole to come in and get you a lot of work. I think at 3,600 he looks good. And then they also have Laviska Shenault. You can kind of pick between both of them. I think Lennon is going to help them because they obviously were getting nothing from Gluten. But Shenault and Keelan Cole. Shenault hasn't played since week 9. Cole has been the guy that has had some big weeks for them last year. And without Chark, I think he gives you a really good opportunity. So I like Chark. I like Cole. I think I might play him over Mims. Now that I think Darnold is starting for the Jets this week, and Darnold just has been really bad. If it was Flacco, I'd feel better about Mims, but Darnold is definitely scary. So Keelan Cole, I think, is a really cheap receiver that I would definitely consider at just $3,600. And then you also have Isabella at 3K, but would you play Isabella as the third option on a team or would you play Keelan Cole as probably the first option? I'd rather go with Keelan Cole in that scenario. And I think that is pretty much it for me. I still consider Denzel Mims if you play a bunch of lineups, but I'm either going up at wide receiver or going down. I don't think I'll mess around too much in this like $5,000 to $5,000 range or $6,000 range, just because there's a lot of great options besides Jefferson. A lot of great options in the $7,000 range and in the $3,000 range. So I think these 6 look pretty good builds, like pretty good strong plays this week right now. If Jones isn't in, then you can go with Ridley, or you can just go with Diggs and just fade some chalk because everybody's going to have Jefferson and Ridley, and Diggs can easily like outscore Ridley if he continues to get targeted as heavily as he does, and maybe Brian Hill gets a couple touchdowns for the Falcons. That would be a pretty good scenario. And then tight ends, same kind of guys I mentioned yesterday. It's Travis Kelce, Darren Waller. If I'm definitely going to be trying to pay up there if I'm going cheap, because it's really rare that on tight ends we get you guys that have 25 plus upside, and Kelce definitely does, and Waller hasn't really shown that this year, but he has that ceiling. And then if I'm going cheap, it's going to be for like for Hunter Henry, Ingram. I think those guys look appealing in that 4K range. I'm definitely not messing around with anybody below $3,000. And then defenses, 3 defenses that look appealing this week. The Rams, Giants, and Browns look appealing. I like the Giants the most, followed by the Rams, then the Browns. And then if you want to go all the way up to the Dolphins, you could, but I think I feel comfortable going with the Giants defense at 3,200. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. That's pretty much it for this DraftKings side. FanDuel is pretty similar, but we'll go ahead and touch on that as well. All right, on FanDuel, Dalvin Cook is $11,000. Just find that price tag pretty insane, and it's easier to get to him now that we have value, but I still think that I would feel comfortable about going with a couple more expensive receivers. So I think I will be not on Cook on FanDuel, at least maybe on DraftKings makes a lot better play. But quarterback for me is still going to be Josh Allen on FanDuel at 8,600. Just try to pair him with Diggs, and I think it's easier to do that because Calvin Ridley is 8,100, so he's not super cheap like he is on DraftKings at 71, but still like Diggs and Allen stack. Jefferson, pretty impossible to not have a lot of interest in at just $7,000 with Thielen out for this week. Then running back wise, it's definitely Hill as a really good play at 5,100. You have Gaskin in there if he ends up being activated at just 56, who looks appealing. We have Gallman as well at just 5,700, who's been playing better and getting you touchdowns and getting you into getting all the carries in the red zone. So he looks appealing, even though they give Alfred Morris some work. But it's been Gallman that's definitely been the more appealing and the better play of the two. So these 5 look pretty good to start your lineup with, and then I think you definitely can go back to another cheap receiver like a Keelan Cole at 5,300. You could play Aguilar over him, but I definitely like Keelan Cole now that Chark is out and Conley's out. He should be out there 100% of the snaps. And we've seen Mike Glennon have some decent games in the past when he was with the Bucs, and at least one thing he does is throw the ball downfield, and that is what Keelan Cole can get you a big play. So I think he looks appealing, especially against the Browns, who are missing their best cornerback this week in Denzel Ward. So these 6, same core that I like on FanDuel, leaves you with 68. So plenty to pay up for a tight end, plenty to pay up for a defense, and for a decent flex. So that's it for the video. That's kind of it for my final look this week. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and best of luck this week.